guys, Paul from International Scale Modeler. Welcome to our very first ever build log video for International Scale Modeler. They're free, we don't charge. Like I said before, we don't want to be charging fellow modelers for a forum or watching build videos and what have you. We do not see the need in doing it at all. So, like I say, different to the techniques guide. On the techniques guide, I take my time doing stuff to show you guys how to do it. I'm not an expert by any means, but if I can help out, I always will. On this, I'll be building at my own speed and rate, so it'll be a lot quicker than you used to see me paint and stick stuff together, because I'm not sat here showing, right, this is how we do it kind of thing. So it does give that, it's going to be a quicker build. Obviously, it looks a fantastic kit. Really looking forward to building this. Hope you guys enjoy following it with me, and I know George is going to be building this side by side with me and his son, which I'll get to in a bit. So that's a great thing as well. So like I say, it's going to be a quicker build. Obviously I'm not going to focus on every technique, but I will show how I do things along the way, but I'm hoping it'll add a bit more to the forum and our YouTube channel as well. So we'll get going and we'll get started. Right, so what we're going to do, I'll run through quickly where we're going to start with this. I've done a little bit off camera. I've started one of the ejection seats. We'll then go through actually building one, and then we'll go through the spray bay and what have you, the spray booth, and give it a coat of primer, some paint, then we'll hand pick out the details, etc. So I built this last night. I'll run you through the instructions first. So we're on step one. Obviously, if anybody wants a good look at that paint call out as well, that's it there. It's in the Mr. Hobby, Mr. Colour range, which I think they're lacquer based paints. Obviously I'm not going to use those, I'm going to use Mr. Hobby Aqueous, the Buffable, Alclads, probably a few Tamiya's here and there. Might be a variation of paint, so I've converted these over into what I'll use. I've basically got a list, and I know George, who wants to build this along with me, and his son. I sent this to him by PM yesterday, my new list. So if anybody wants it, send me a PM on ISM or leave it in the comments on YouTube, and I'll send you across the list that I'm going to use. So basically, step one, we had to decide which variant of the plane we're going to do straight away. As you've seen, the amount of decals is just absolutely ridiculous. If anybody didn't see the review, I'll show you quickly. The Israeli B version, which is the version I really wanted to do. I counted them, there's well over 650 decals. So there's the top of the aircraft, and yeah, every one of those blue marks is a decal and its location. So yeah, quite a few there. And underneath, the same, and the sides. So yeah, I haven't got that time in my life to put those decals on. I did half of that on the MiG and it took me 2 days. I'd lose the will to live. So we're going to do the D variant, which, as you can see, there's quite a few less on there. To be honest, I was on the fence. I wanted to do the D variant because of the actual aircraft and the seats in it and what have you. I wanted to do the more modern one, but I wanted to do the Israeli one just for the pure fact it's Israeli. So it's a kind of a compromise for me. I get to do the D variant, but I don't get to do the Israeli, but I don't have to do all those decals. I know there's a later version that's coming out, not a later, single seat version that's coming out this year. If it's in Israeli again, or I can do it in Israeli, there's a possibility. I may use the decals and we'll see how we get on. But for me, I'm doing the D variant. I was a bit undecided last time in the review, but I've decided. I had to decide literally on the first step of the build, because the first step of the build is the ejector seats. You go choose either the escape pack or the ACES, which is the escape packs for the B, and the ACES is for everything else, I believe, bar the Israeli. So we've gone for the ACES 2 ejector seat. So this is the stage you're going to be doing. It's these here. So that's the escape pack at the top, this is the ACES at the bottom. So we need to build 2 of those. There are 3, 4, 5 components in total, on 2 separate sprues, which we've got 1 of them there. And obviously we get all that together, we get it primed. To be honest, I'm most probably going to prime it just to do these 2. We'll probably get this built as well, and then prime all this together, because these are in black. There's a few parts on here which are in FS grey, so I like to try and batch all my colours together basically. So I built one off camera, I'll build one on camera with you now. Did need a little bit of filler in a couple of places, one around the back of it which I'm a bit surprised about, but it didn't quite fit. I assume it wasn't me. We'll see on this next seat if it was. So hopefully today we'll get both these seats built, painted, a little bit of weathering on them, hopefully, and hopefully we can get the majority of this cockpit tub together. We won't necessarily get the seats in or the instrument panel, but we'll see how far we get. Quite hard for me to judge how far we get. So like I said, what I did last night, I did one of the Aces 2 seats. It's quite nicely detailed. I've had a few little touches. I've drilled out one of the handles there. The ejector handles at the front. I've probably gone a little bit too far on that, but I'll show you why in a minute. And then a little bit of detail there. So I've literally used a pin vise with various size bits in it just to enlarge them, and then I come along with a new tool to me. It's a little detailer, so it's got like a little reamer bit in the top, varying sizes. So I've literally hand drilled them out, all the detail, and then got this little tool in to bear them. And I did get a little bit carried away because that should be a little bit thicker at the top, and I've just gone a little bit too far. I've got a picture of an Aces 2 jet seat on my MacBook right now, and I'll tell you what, the detail on the kit, although it's a little bit not vague, but because of its scale, it's quite hard to show, like wiring and hoses and what have you. But they're all where they're supposed to be, and everything looks really, really good. The only thing I'm disappointed about on this kit is the lack of any photo etch belts, but to be fair, the size of those, they'd be quite tricky to put on. So just a little bit of hand painting, hopefully they'll look okay. So a bit of filler is required on the top because these two halves are glued together, and it's where the sprue's been. So a little bit of a layer thinner than that last night, and the surprising bit was on the back. There's quite a significant gap up the back. Obviously, you're not going to see this once it's in position, so it depends how fussy you're going to be. But for me, I just put a little bit of filler in there. I didn't even let it dry. I got a moist cotton bud, rubbed it out, job done. So it took like 10 seconds to fit. So, various components, like I say, 5 of them on their own moulded sprue, which is a real nice touch. If I snip all these off, we'll tie them up quickly, we get it glued together. I'm not going to go through the whole build showing every component being glued together because that's boring as hell. So if you want to see how I cut components off, tidy them up, you're going to see it now quickly. So there we go, that's them all off. So you need to get a sander, your sprue cutters, take off as much of the sprue as you possibly can without going into detail of the kit. That one's okay. This on top is where we need a bit of filler. It's where these two halves go together. So I'm going to leave that on this time. Maybe trim that one down a little bit. We'll see if we can get away with a little bit less filler. I've done that one. Like I say, we'll see if we actually get away with it this time. So I'm going to use UMP sander. It's one of our black ones. What we're going to do is just tidy up the edges, as you see, short work. No problem. Always take your time sanding, don't go too fast. Like I said at the beginning, these aren't a technique guide, I've already done those, not on the jet, but it was just a basic aircraft weapon, so I'm not going to explain every single process, but you'll still see me do it, and I'll explain key features on the way, because I don't want this to drag out into a full-on, you know, this is how I build a jet guide kind of thing. I just want to join with you guys, building on YouTube, chatting rubbish for an hour, sometimes, just like Cohen does. No, mine will be for an hour. I can't waffle for as long as Cohen, unfortunately. So there we go, there's all the components off. Majority cleaned off. As you can see, if I go to the side, so you can see the front handle there on this is one piece. So I literally drilled that out to give it the impression of the handle, and on the other side, same again on the front, and then this little one here had a little bit of an opening up as well. So that's all done to the kit really. Like I say, I've gone a bit thick on the front ejector handles, but it's by the by. To be honest, you won't really see that in the cockpit itself. You'll see bits of it. Now, the instructions to assemble both halves together. So slot down in the top. Like, do you remember how I did it? So literally that part slots in there. A little bit of glue, bit of Tammy extra thin, just down the back, a little bit at the bottom. Same on the other side. Again, there's no locating points on the actual seat base, so it does slide around. I had the exact same gap yesterday, and there's the exact same gap up the back. Now what I thought was maybe I pushed this over too far. I did try and move it back to like equal the gap out, but it didn't. So it's obviously just a very, very slight gap, and to be honest, like I say, it's in position in the aircraft. You're not going to see it, but me being me, I just chucked a little bit of filler in there to take care of it. Job done. So it's a nice cold rainy day again here. About 5 minutes just as I was about to start filming, started absolutely chucking it down. Not good, but I'm nice and warm and dry in here, so I'm happy. Chatting to you guys, can't think of anything better to do. Well, I could. That's by the by. So again, on top, same gap as I had yesterday. It's just literally the two components glued together. Can't be perfect, so I just put a little bit of a layer in it, let it dry for half an hour, sand it off, job done. So we'll put a little bit of glue in the top there. Hold that together for a second. So as you see, we've had our 3 winners drawn for the Cold War group build. Some fantastic work, well, all fantastic work. Some real good effort, some cracking build threads. Myself and Lee had an absolute nightmare, and it literally was handbags at dawn deciding on the winners. We just couldn't agree fully, and we was just back and forth all day long, hitting each other with our handbags. So well done, Gav, Franz and Dan. Well done, guys. Deserved wins. Absolutely superb work. 70 people entered. I think it was it 30 finished, something like that. Could have done a few more of you guys finishing, but obviously stuff gets in the way, especially because it was over Christmas as well. That's probably got in everyone's way as well. But stunning work, it really, really was. And that 3rd place was an absolute nightmare to decide. Really is. You wouldn't believe how hard it is judging something like that. It is just so. Me and Lee hate doing it. Absolutely hate having to judge. We've got a 3rd judge now as well, which will be announced quite soon. So hopefully that'll take a bit of pressure off us. But as always, you know, we appreciate you guys taking part, joining in. It makes the forum what it is. So as Lee said on the results video, you know, a bit more effort into your build threads. Not all, obviously, just a few. You need to put a bit more info in there, and that'll add to your overall build. Because as Lee said and showed you, we judge it on a points-based system, so it all adds up, and you can have the best model in the world, the best, you know, skills in the world, but if you don't add to that build thread, you're losing a lot of points. So really do add to it and add some information to the forum. So there we go, they're all glued in position. So it's a case of letting that all dry. So you're talking what, 15, 20 minutes, half hour at the most. Come back, you know, like now we put a bit of filler in there. I'll do that in a second before we go. Top, obviously you have to let this extra thin dry, and I'm going to put a little bit more in there. Sometimes if you've got a little gap like that one, if you squeeze it quite tight, you can often get a bit of molten plastic come out and fill it for you, but no such luck. I think if I clamped it, it probably would, but I'm not going to risk losing some of that detail up there. Obviously we've got where we cut off the sprue gates, any that are exposed, come back with a polisher, just get it in there, polish it off, and you'll never even know you've cut any plastic off there. So filler. So the way I did this yesterday, obviously I got Vallejo's putty. I'm a big fan of the plastic putty. I've used this stuff for years and I lost it. I must have threw it out. So I ordered a brand new tube the other day. And just use that nozzle to get the putty right where you want it. And most importantly with this stuff, put the lid on straight away. Terrible for blocking the nozzle if you leave it off. So obviously we put all the filler in. We haven't been neat, we just chucked it in there. There you go, that's 90% of it gone. little bit more on the details. So give it a bit of pressure. What I like to do then, where you've got any excess in the details like there and there, just get a cocktail stick, give it a little spin round. Job done. There is a tiny little speck at the top, we'll probably do a bit more. But to be honest, you're not going to see it, and there's that filled. Like I said, the top, we're going to have to wait till that dries, so I'm going to go wait for it to dry. I'll put a bit of filler in it, exactly like I've done there. Once that's dry, we'll come back, sand it off. Okay, so while they're drying, I've moved on a little bit. I've got both ejector seats on cocktail sticks. I was still waiting for the filler to dry on this one. Dried on the back. Once that's dry, we'll give it a sand. So they're on cocktail sticks to make it easy to prime and paint. Most parts, what I did, drilled a little hole underneath with the pin vise, just stuck the cocktail stick in. If I can't do that, I'll use a bit of super glue on a cocktail stick, cut the end off so you got a flat piece, and glue it together. What I've also done, we've got the cockpit tub cut out, tidied up just to 4 sprue gates. Absolutely superb detail on this, really impressed by that for a kit part. It's very nice. Oh god, a little bit of excess sprue there just collected. What I've also done, I put the ejector seat runners in the back, fitted very nice and positive, and I've got the front ones to do on camera now. So what you've got a locator lug on the back. They go a specific way, which is inwards like so, and then the notch goes at the top, if you can see that. I'll zoom in a tiny little bit so you can see a bit better. So I can see you got a little notch there, and you've got this notch as well. So it goes with the runners in, and there's little gaps at the bottom where they actually sit. So if you pop it in like so, you see that notch at the back lines up there perfectly. So a little bit of Tamiya extra thin, the capillary action, carry it down both sides, make sure you get a little bit on that lug, and a little bit at the bottom. Like so, same on the other side. So like I say, keep referring to those instructions, and I always say this all the time. Just make sure you don't do what I've just done and glue it on the wrong side. Dope. There you go, easily saved. See, have a quick look at the instructions, like I say. And that saves you gluing a part in the wrong position. That was very close. Saves a bit of embarrassment later on trying to undo stuff. And obviously, because we're a little bit wet there from the glue before, we're not going to need as much. So you see, somebody wants to see me make mistakes on camera? There you go. Live on camera. So this is going to need a little bit more glue to make up what we took off before. And luckily, like I say, refer back to those instructions that are right next to me here. A quick look, I can see it's orientated the wrong way, and I had to quickly change it. So, as I always say, I know I say it all the time to you guys, but always keep an eye on those instructions. Now, this one goes a lot lower down than the back one, sorry. A lot lower down, the rear part of it. So again, you can see those little lugs, there's little lugs on the back of this. So again, look at your instructions, make sure you get it right. So according to that, that's going to fit on there like so. It looks rather low down compared to those instructions, but we go by the instructions, that's what we do. It doesn't look as low down as that on the instructions, but like I say, that doesn't fall off as well. A little bit of excess sprue there where I've sanded that as well, I'll catch that in a bit. So like I say, when you're building this, there is a extra sheet in there. I put mine, the amendment, in the specific place if I show you quickly. So I put it with steps 6 and 7 where it's supposed to be. It's actually in the instruction book so I don't forget. But it's always good, you know, if something doesn't fit and you're not 100% convinced, go back, check you've got it in the right way, because now, while that's still wet, you're not too bad. You can get it off. Like I just moved that part over. Afterwards you are absolutely stuffed. You're going to have to put more extra thin in to reactivate it and get it off. So there we go, there's those in position. So that's literally yeah, ready for priming. If we look on the instructions quickly, so they're the stages we've just done. We've got this to do now, which I'm going to show you in a second, which is these components. There's both of them glued in position, and obviously this calls for the seats, the instrument panels, and we're having the colour call out. So we're not going to, these are going to be painted up separately. We're going to concentrate on this today. We'll come back next time. We'll do that when we detail these. So we'll see how far we get today. Try and keep these videos between half an hour and 45 minutes, because A, they're a massive file, and B, I don't want to be born alive for you lot. So we're going to concentrate on that now. Now this, I believe, goes underneath of the cockpit tub, and I believe it looks like the front landing gear bay. Now, I was going to put this together and glue it off camera, but as you see, that's together, and it is literally just held together by itself. That's how well the kit fits. So these are all cut off, tidied up, and then it literally does clip together. So, you know, always the sign of a well-engineered kit. It's well thought out, everything fits perfectly, and I always like stuff like this. And this is the kind of stuff you see on, you know, Tammy 132 kits, where they're that well engineered that it literally clips together with no glue. I really do like that. It shows a lot of thoughts going into the kit. It really does make a difference. Now I'm going to glue this on the top. I'm not going to glue it from underneath. So that part's pushing away a little bit. We'll see if we can soften up with a bit of glue in a minute. So doing it this way, we're not trying to struggle to get it inside. So hopefully we can clamp that a little bit, and that end as well. Obviously beware you put any glue, because you don't want to get it on your fingers and ruin all your detail that you've managed to get. Hold it for a few seconds, and then on the vertical part in there, obviously to try and get the glue in there you end up with a good chance of ruining it. It doesn't need it inside, but on these vertical parts here I will just drop a little bit in there. And there we go. Now that sits, my zoom is back out. When I go back to my instructions, that sits in like that, and then that sits underneath there like so. So we should have the recess back. Yeah, we do. Now should we attach that now? We may as well, because it'll give us something to hold whilst we're painting it. So I'm just going to pop a little extra thin in there and in there. Again, because you picked it up and put it down, make sure you've got no glue on your fingers, and just keep looking back to those instructions, making sure you've got orientated the right way, like so. Pop it in, let the extra thin do its job, and I'm just going to put a little bit there, a little bit there, a little bit there. Obviously, because it's underneath and it's hidden, you don't need to be as precise with your glue, but just make sure when you've been manhandling things, make sure they're all back where they should be. And obviously on more delicate parts like this, now you can see that there where I've knocked that, and that's gone skew with. So figure out which way we need to go. As you can see, getting attacked by seagulls. Just going to pull it out and try and push it down a little bit, or snap it off. Either way. There we go, that's better. So we'll do put a little bit of extra thin on there. That's probably going to come off now. So there we go, that's that glued in position underneath. So like I said, I shouldn't to the front landing gear bay. It's glued in position. Once you've done that, go around, check everything you've done above is glued in position. Now I did notice this had moved from the base a little bit. Pushed it down in the process, managed to snap this front part. I didn't completely snap off, I just literally bent it a bit. So what I've done, I put a little dab of extra thin just where the, you know, you see the plastic starts to whiten where it's been stretched. And because what that'll do, it'll melt it a bit, bend it back. But obviously, because you've been manhandling things, just go around the rest of the model and just check you haven't moved any parts. And then if it's glued, put it to one side and leave it there for a good half an hour before you start mucking about with stuff. And obviously, keep it out of harm's way. So that's right at the back of my workbench. That's the ejector seat. Vallejo putty does dry very quick. It's not quite dry, but it should be dry enough for us to work with. We'll see. Still a little bit spongy, but we'll see what it does. So obviously using the UMP sander again. Beauty of these being flat one edge, curved the other. You've got a nice curved surface for broad sanding, and you've got a flat edge where you need this, where we just want to avoid that front bit, but we want to make sure we get into the area where we need it. Okay, so just sanding it gently and slowly. Until you get rid of all the filler where it's not required. So I'm using that front piece there as a guide and just letting the sander do its own thing. So it looks like we're done, and then at the back, if you get anywhere you don't need it, I often find a fingernail. We'll make short work of it. If it's very nearly gone, then a quick file over. Go through anything. Now with any filler you may notice you get a bit of shrinkage. Vallejo putty's notorious for shrinking. So what I'll do, I'll prime these up. I'll leave it to dry for probably another half hour, prime it up, and then we'll see what happens overnight or so. You may get a bit of shrinkage overnight, you may not. Often you'll see it on fuselage sections where you glue them together. The other thing I need to do on this, and I'll do quickly as well, is remove the detail from in there as well. I forgot about that, to be honest. Good job I remembered. So the way I did it, obviously we've got one there, so I just wanted to thin it out a little bit, so I put my pin vise in, give it a quick turn, and that was in there. So I just made that a little bit less bulky. The next one was this rear handle here, which it's got the impression of having a hole in it, but it hasn't, so I just literally pop that in there. And then the front ones, right at the back edge where it was the smallest part, I used this drill bit, and then I went to a large one for the front, then using that little detailer tool I then did the back. So there we go. I did have the little drill bit somewhere, there we go, kept it out last night. So it's just a slightly bigger, I can't remember the exact size now, I've forgotten. But we double the size of that last one. What we do then is just go to the front there, where it's a larger part. One thing to remember with these pin vices, some of those small drill bits are unbelievably sharp, and if you've got your finger behind doing something like this, if you slip, that's going right in your finger. Been there, done it, and it hurts like a bitch. It really does. So just be that aware when you're doing that. So there we go. Now this is where I went OTT yesterday. I've got this, I did just mention it before. It's micro detail, I believe it was from Micromark, if I remember right. I got this with a job lot of stuff I bought on eBay, modelling stuff. I believe it's no longer production, so you can't get them. You get something similar, but it's literally touch on and off, and in there's a little reaming tool. So it starts off thin and goes bigger, and I literally Put it in there. Gradually making that gap bigger, like so. So as you can see now taking the detail out the middle. I'm not going to go as OTT as yesterday. Which is easier said than done with a power tool. Obviously it's not a massive power tool, but I'm actually just gonna got a bit more room on this, so I'm trying to put a hole in the middle again. It makes it a bit easier to remove the detail. Yeah, power tool and men, yeah, you tend to go a little bit OTT. So what you're trying to do is just trying to make it even, so there's just a little step. Like so. Oh, gonna drop on the deck. And then onto the next part. Because it's a stepped bit, the more you push it in, the bigger the hole goes. So you can literally get it how you want it. They just need tidying up. And jobs are good. So there we go, we'll put that back on its cocktail stick. We'll let that Vallejo putty dry a little bit. What you could always do, you could always put a Mr. Surfacer on there. That'll sort that out no end. Once I've let it dry a little bit, we'll go to the spray booth and give it a paint. Okay, we're in the spray booth. All those parts have dried. I'll run through them all now. I've cut a few more off. So we've got the cockpit, tub itself. We've put the hose in. Hose in the edge, and the control sticks are in position. They're glued in place. It's on a little clip which slots right on the side of my Tamiya paint stand. I never actually use it for painting on, I just use it for holding parts. Both seats are all sorted now, the filler's done, sanded and polished as well. I didn't show that on camera on the side. We've got the cockpit side plates, they're off. And we've also got the instrument panels, which I'll show quickly. Right there, so they're ready to all to be primed. And then everything bar the seat is FS 36212 is it, I think? I can't really tell because my Mr. Hobby's missing its label. Sorry, I got the instructions, we'll have a look. 36231 is what it is, which is Mr. Hobby H17. So that's a grey. Then we've got a flat black, which is FS 37038, but we've replaced it with Mr. Hobby H12. And we're going to be primed with the AK acrylic prime. As you know, I had a few problems with the Vallejo. I hadn't had a problem for years, once with it, and all of a sudden I had a problem with it. So as soon as I had a problem with that, I thought, sod that, got rid of it. Tried the AK and love it. I think it's absolutely superb. So that's what I'm now using. We'll just give the airbrush a quick clean before we start spraying. Pressure 25 psi, that's the pressure I spray everything at, as you'll know if you watch me work. A little bit of red paint in this from last time. I'm not sure what I was painting that was red. I can't actually remember. As long as it doesn't show through on the primer, I don't really care. As always, clean airbrush, bit of cleaner, blow it through, ditch it, spray it out. Job's a good one. So, always give it a clean before you start, because you know your airbrush is spotless then. AK prime, I'm a massive fan of. Dries really quick, which is what I like about it. Doesn't need thinning at all. And as I say, always try and keep your lids nice and clean, because it does help. So here we go, generous amount. Put the lid back on. So like I say, I've got the Tamiya paint stand. I don't actually use it to paint on. I just use it to hold on the parts, as you can see. As it's a little turntable, it works very well. Put the spray booth on. I'm just going to get a bit noisy. So you've seen me prime before, I don't need to go all the way through it. You start off with nice thin coats. Getting the base down where you need it. And then come back. The The beauty of these now, I've done all the technique guides, I don't need to take my time doing stuff to show you, so I can work at my normal pace, which can be quite a blur sometimes, so hope it's not too quick. So don't try and cover the part in one go. The primer, move to the next part. What we're trying to do is get a light coat on. So I like to lightly dust it all, pop it in the rack, and revolve it round, moving on to the parts. As we go, much better being able to work at this pace rather than being really deliberate, because it just takes forever when you're doing stuff. This is a normal pace I work at, I don't hang about. As long as you do things in a certain way, there's no reason to hang about, because you can just literally battle it on and through. By the time you've gone all the way around the part and come back, this first few bits will be very nearly dry. Have a look around for any spots you've missed. Anywhere that needs a light touch up, straight in front there. And again, if you look at the sheet at the bottom, whacking it on like that, well, just as the paint empties, and sod's law, I'm all done. I'm just literally making a little bit in there. I'm just very lightly, like that, spraying. So I'm not full back on the trigger, covering it in paint. I'm literally dusting it, working it around. And by adding those multiple coats, I knock this off. By adding those multiple coats, by the time you've gone round that circle of, or on my turntable, of parts, they've dried and come back. So you're adding the same amount of paint, but you're giving the time to dry in between. And as you can see, that's perfectly primed. Nice grey, it's all dry. I'll almost guarantee if I touch it, I don't really want to, but I will, that it's dry. And it is, and that's been, you know, a minute, if that. As you can see, the only paint on my fingers is a splodge off the airbrush, and the same there, so it shows you how good that AK primer is. I'll let this dry a couple of minutes, and then we'll come back with the base colours and get those down. Okay, so here we go, the primer's all dried, probably been 20 minutes of that. It doesn't need a long time to dry, I've proven it with this. It doesn't scratch off. I haven't had it pull off yet with masking tape, it really is good stuff. So 20 minutes is enough for me to start giving it base coat of colour. So obviously we've got black and a grey to spray. We've got an FS 36231 and an FS, if I get my sheet, 3703, which is flat black. So we're using flat black. Always spray your lighter colour first, obviously, because you're not doing a full strip down of your airbrush. You don't want this tainting this. So always spray your lighter colour first. So the Mr. Hobbies, good shake. Hopefully the lid's not stuck, which it is. So good old Mr. Hobby bottle opener. Got a bit crusty this bottle, but it's certainly well used. So we go from one Harder Steenbeck Evolution to the other. So I've got two. One I use for primers, Vallejo, extra acrylics, etc. Anything that's a bit finicky. And this other one I solely use for Mr. Hobby and Tamiya. I had this airbrush now for well over 3 years. Certainly well worn. Lost a lot of the nickel plating of it, but it serves its purpose very well. Definitely one of the best airbrushes you can get. The only one I'd replace this would probably be an Infinity, which is again is Harder Steenbeck. So there we go, we've got about 1 mil of paint, UMP thinner. We'll do about a 50-50 mix, because it's quite awkward to spray where we're going to be spraying. We don't want it too thin, because you want to be able to add your layers without having it run. So once you've got your paint mixed, put the bottle back in your lid, clean if you need to. Mine's past saving now, unfortunately. On the spray booth for a 25 psi again, and obviously because you're spraying grey on grey, it can be a bit difficult to see. So always pull your paint through. Just blast that away. Pull the crustiness off that lid, we don't want to go on our paint. And as always, it's not going to be as thin as usual, so it's going to be a little difficult to write my name. But I don't want it thin. Same as before, don't try and cover it in one go. This is just all the angles, recesses. right where you need it. It's basically a dark grey, this. Standard colour for quite a lot of US jets. Again, you get it a bit too thick, cut back to air, let the air do the work. On this one, the needle nozzle is a lot less worn than on the other one. That's what I do. I replace the needle nozzle in this, and this one goes in the other one. So the other one sprays a lot more. This is a lot finer, so I can pull back. And you saw how much I got out of this before. I don't get as much paint. That's right back, everything buttoned down. Okay, so there's all the grey FS colour done. So all we've got left now is the flat black on the seats. The stuck bottle lid. Well worth the money if you haven't got one. I said this last time. Superb bit of kit. Opens all stubborn Tamiya and Mr. Hobby bottle lids. Absolutely brilliant. So we've got just Hobby flat black. I cleaned the airbrush from doing the grey, so there's no problem there. Probably half a mil. A little bit thinner. A bit too much in there, to be honest. We'll see. So it's a flat black. The flat black just sprayed really nice. I think it is a bit thin. We'll see. Not too bad. The flat black does spray really nice. It really is a flatter than flat black. So again, the trick of black, black white can be a bit awkward to spray. It's just the model. As you can see, I'm just lightly going over it. All around the back. All the little recesses at the front. Build it up, and as usual, you give it too much, cut to air, and watch it magically dry right in front of your eyes. Really do like these Mr. Hobby paints. They knock spots off Tamiya paint by a long shot. They're a lot easier to work with, they're not as finicky over being thin. I overthin this, I know I have, and it's still spraying on perfectly. If you did that to Tamiya, you'd have a bit of a nightmare. You'd have running paint and it'd take forever to dry. Whereas this stuff, literally, I put it on there and get the wetness to show for you. Blast it with air. There you go, dry. Absolutely superb paint. Really do rate this stuff. So glad I started using it. Just check you've got all the little recesses. Obviously the seat cushions, the handles not getting sprayed a different colour, well hand painted it'll be. Just make sure you've got in between them and underneath. There's nothing worse than finishing off and you realise you've missed it. So there's one. I'm very quickly painting this one because we're running out of time for today. There we go. Perfect. Knock that off. Like I say, really do rate these Mr. Hobby paints. They are absolutely superb. I didn't use my Tamiya for a long time after getting them, and I'm only using them now because I'm building the Tamiya kit and the references are a bit easier sometimes. Building the F-15, the 132 one. But really do rate these. So if you haven't tried them, and you're looking for a new paint, give it a whirl. I mean, I started off with Vallejo Air and I thought they were absolutely fantastic. It's still a good paint, they're not my favourite anymore. A lot of problems with them clogging the brush. They don't like specific thinners, they love ours. And it can turn to almost jelly substance. So that makes it a bit hard to use. I then moved on to Tamiya, which I love. Tamiya are a great beginner paint because they're nice and easy to use. Can be a bit finicky over thinning ratios, but you soon get used to them. Spray, they're nice and easy. So it's a good beginner paint. I then moved on to like extra acrylics. I love extra acrylics, hand paint. Some cracking colours in there. Alclans you can't beat for metal finishes, and my current favourite is probably Ejection paints. Really do like those paints. They spray paint probably the nicest out of all the acrylic paints. Absolute perfect finish, and I hope at some point to add a lot more of those to my ever-growing paint collection. Other paints, Vallejo model colour, I like to brush paint with those. They brush okay as well, but if it's something generic or it's an FS colour, it's not Mr. Hobby. As you can see, they clean up nice as well with our cleaner. There's the rain again. Couple of blasts through, couple of brushes. Sure it empty any second. She goes. Wipe around the tissue, and there's one spotless airbrush. So we'll be back over to workbench. Okay, so there we go, we're back on the workbench. Everything's sprayed, everything's dried now, to be honest. The cockpit's done in the grey FS 36231. Again, Mr. Hobby, superb paint, dry already, I could work on it. So that's great. So we need to add some detail parts of the panels, pick out some of the buttons, give it a wash. We'll do all that in the next part. Bring out a lot more of that detail. So it's going to be a bit of hand painting, a bit of weathering. Instrument panels are done, both of them superb detail, especially that right hand one. If you can see that, absolutely superb. There's a few decals to put in these, a few colours to pick out and what have you to make interest. Give it a bit of dry brushing and what have you. And then both side panels again, bit of a wash in there, bit of a wash in the cockpit tub as well, and they're going to look great. Seats, flat black, Mr. Hobby, can't beat it. Really good. We've got the seat cushions to paint. I think it's in like an olive drab colour. Some of the details to pick out, and then dry brush it all in a light grey, which will really bring it alive. A few decals to put on. Again, we'll cover that next time. Really, really nice seat. Looks a lot better where I've opened out those parts. Looks a bit more realistic, and it is a very, very good copy of that Aces 2 seat. I just feel like I'm boring the hell out of people doing these first parts of the videos. I probably bore the hell out of you all the time, but that's just tough. You have to watch me if you're watching. It's just, you've watched me glue stuff together and paint stuff. I always find I'm boring the life out of people. I enjoy it, to be honest. I enjoy gluing stuff together and painting stuff, so hopefully you don't mind watching me. I hope so anyway. Like I say, next part we'll come back, we'll get some weathering done, detail parts, and the pit will be almost done. All that's left to add to the cockpit is there's a little cowling to go over the rear instrument panel, and that's it really. And once the cockpit's done, we're on to putting the nose cone together, and it's it's going to literally, pardon the pun, it's going to fly through this build. The MiG was a huge, fast build, really was quick getting through, and I enjoyed every minute of it. So it's Saturday today. I filmed this really quick. It's only taken me a couple of hours to film this part, which is nice, because some of these videos can take me all day to film, and they can take 6-7 hours to edit. Quite a lot of time to do. So that's us for today. Hopefully I'll be back in about a week with another part. Again, if you're not a part of International Scale Model, please come and join us. Fantastic forum, very, very friendly members. Come and say hello, join in, show us your work. No one's hypocritical. No one criticises your work. Anything like that. It's a real nice forum, really friendly. Again, come over to the Facebook page, join the group. Good bit of banter on the Facebook page, really is good. You'll like it and what have you. And again, you like the video, comment, subscribe to us, thumbs up, thumbs down if you're that way inclined. And I'll see you soon. So like I say, Paul from International Scale Modeller, I'll be back very soon with another part. Hope you like what you've seen, our first build video. It's a free one, don't forget it's free. And I'll see you soon. So take care guys, and I'll see you on the forums.